How's everybody doing today? Yes, welcome to my broadcast. I'm learning all sorts of fun things these days. Yeah, getting the flow of this down, figuring out what's going on with my broadcast, what's going on, working on the multi-stream. So, those of you who are just joining, I am Joe Evans. I am the 1st Congressional District candidate, Libertarian candidate for District 1, Idaho. And well, I'm running for office. So this is my opportunity to sit down and sit down for an hour, talk with you about different issues. So please, by all means, send in questions. This is kind of an ask me anything type session. Free flow. Yes. My smiling face for the next 4 hours. Please ask your questions. Any questions. We're going to make this work. We're going to have fun with it today. So, we got an awful lot of issues. You all know the issues. You all got your favorites. You know, whether we're talking about bringing our troops home, whether we're talking about medical care, affordable care, whether we're talking about corruption in government, corruption in corporations, the crony capitalism that affects all of America, one way, shape, or another. COVID-19. What is it really? Just how dangerous is it? Is it something we really should be concerned about? Is it something that's really an issue of personal responsibility that the government never should have stepped in on? Yeah. Send me your questions. Let me know what it is you think is important. And while I'm waiting for that, let's go ahead and talk about another issue. Okay. I shared some pictures the other day on my Facebook. I'm going to see if I can pull those up for you here real quick. You always wonder just how this stuff's going to work when you try and go in and do it. No, default screen. Nope, haven't figured out how to do that bit yet. So let's go ahead, take a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and wander on over here and see what I can do as far as pulling up some information, what we can do. So what it was a side-by-side comparison, actually over-under, of different experiences that we've had across the United States in relationship to experiences that we've had in Afghanistan. Oh, I know why I can't find it on here. Because I shared it from my phone. Go figure. What it was a comparison. There were two different scenes. One showed Taliban Afghan fighters were in the back of a Toyota pickup truck, and the other showed a bunch of our Boog boys sitting in the back of their Sierra, or Ford F-150, all kitted up, weapons, armor, the whole 9 yards. There was a second one that went with that. That was the convoy. One was a convoy of ISIS. The other was a convoy of Trump supporters, all on their way to Portland, of all places. So if you're actually looking at what's going on with regards to that comparison, I find it hilarious. Reason why I found it hilarious was because how often do you get a group of strangers who drive hundreds, some of them even drove 1,000+ miles in order to join up with a coalition of strangers who share only a common identity to conduct war games using automatic and chemical warfare simulators against an unsuspecting population in a community that they're total strangers to. Yes, I found it hilarious. Reason why is because second I stop laughing about that kind of garbage, we're going to have issues. Fortunately, with regards to the weapon simulators that they use, despite the fact that they could have caused grievous bodily injury and possibly death to certain non-combatants in the zone of combat operations for this war game, nobody actually suffered grievous injury or death as a result of this garbage this time. No. If you're offended because I don't appreciate the Trump convoys, because I don't appreciate the Proud Boys, yeah, you probably weren't going to vote for me anyway. So, peace, folks. Move on about your life. But yeah, now we're on the edge. We got people who are living out murder fantasies on both sides across the United States, regardless of what city it is, regardless of what state it is. This is a problem. Whether it's Portland, whether it's Seattle, whether it's Minnesota, whether it's friggin' Kenosha. Who never heard of it until, what, 2 weeks ago? Right now, we have American citizens who understand that the system is broken. It is. We have a common enemy. This common enemy happens to represent the state, the wealthy, the 1%. Since this COVID crisis started, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, the massive redistribution of wealth upwards. Come on. 12 billionaires. The oligarchy doesn't became $822 billion richer, while the rest of us are in the process of getting evicted from our apartments, having our homes foreclosed on, having lost our jobs, wondering where we're going to be eating from next. Yeah, there is a common enemy for both the left and the right. And we got individuals on both sides that would rather be fighting each other than recognizing the problem and helping each other out. Now, I admit there is a distinctly different approach to problem solving in urban America from rural America. Currently the suburbs. We currently have a problem in the suburbs because they're not very well connected to either rural or urban America. So we got an awful lot of people who are going around, why don't they eat cake? Yeah, well, that's not quite what we want to do here, folks. Definitely not what we want to do. So come on, ask me anything, folks. Ask me anything. Go ahead, throw me some questions. What is it you want to talk about? What are the things that are important to you? Yeah. Anybody, come on. So, somebody ask me anything, my listening tour, going around. Normally I do this with a cup of joe. Got in a bit of a rush today. So I'm actually sitting out here without my cup of joe or any of my other normal caffeine intake. But I wander around from different parks, different places, different coffee shops, sit down. Today I'm actually out in Meridian Park, right in the center of downtown Meridian. And it's not in the center, it's off to the edge. We got the Meridian Speedway here off on my right. We'll go ahead and take a quick look at that. Yeah. See that over there? Meridian Speedway, right over here next to the swimming pool, which has been closed all summer because of COVID. But oh yeah, lack of anything else to talk about. Let's go ahead and talk about education. Okay, some of you know that education is an issue. We don't talk about it that much because there always seems to be something bigger on the horizon. So we look at issues along the lines of federal overreach. The United States federal government, particularly the Office of the President, created a Secretary of Education, created the Department of Education. This is a cabinet level position where currently occupied by Betsy DeVos, that is responsible for coordinating and standardizing education across the United States, so that somebody who graduates high school in Idaho can go to some place like Chicago, Illinois, and be certified as having received the equivalent education. Now, originally, this entire idea was designed to be, give everybody the same opportunity. What ended up was, yes, we set up the lowest common denominator all across the entirety of the United States. The absolute worst education system became the standard rather than the best education system. So what happens when you create a one-size solution for everything? Idaho, we sort of have a similar problem. Reason why is because we have the same sort of education policy coming out of our state, which is responsible for issues. We have Boise Independent School District. That school district's responsible for a couple thousand students. It graduates 1,000 plus every year. We have others like Atlanta. They graduate like 4 students a year max. So we have this huge disparity where we have a state policy that tries to address Boise Independent School District in the exact same way that the Atlanta School District or, these other really small community school districts work. Now, imagine trying to do that across all of the United States. And that's what we got. United States Department of Education, Betsy DeVos, No Child Left Behind, Common Core, all of these brilliant ideas coming out of the federal Department of Education. Now, instead of no child left behind, it is now every child left behind, unless you are a parent who has the time to homeschool, or you have a job or career that allows you to send your child to a private school. Or you get lucky and you actually have a decent charter school somewhere in the area where you win the lottery and your child actually gets picked up to attend said charter school, which is in line with their interests. Okay? I won't lie. I got lucky. I got really lucky. Most of my kids were self-starters, sharp. One's currently working at Maine Mathematics and Science Institute up in northern Maine. Already picked up, 15 years old, already has his 36 college credits. You know, he wouldn't be able to attend it if he wasn't a raw genius to begin with. So, Lord knows I can't afford it right now. But if he hadn't put in the effort in order to attend that preparatory school, and that's what it's a boarding school, it's a preparatory school. If he hadn't put in the effort to try and attend that school, I wouldn't have been able to afford to send him. You know, but that shouldn't be the situation. Every child in America should have access to an education that's appropriate for their skill level, for their ability, for their cognitive ability. You know, they should be allowed, you know, upon graduation from high school, to have received an education that allows them to be the best person they can be, to be their best selves. And we don't have that in America right now. Literally, we are graduating people from high school that are not qualified to attend college. We have to send them to remedial math courses. You know, how bad is it when you graduate high school and you're going off to college to get your associate's and your bachelor's degree, and before you can even start collecting credits towards your bachelor's degree, you have to take 12 credits of remedial training in English and math before you can even have a credit that counts towards your graduation. And that's where we are in America right now. It is that bad. And when you realize that there are some people who do not have the money, do not have the resources to spend an entire semester playing catch up without signing up for, you know, a $10,000 loan for the semester, you know, we simply are not training. We are not giving our children in America the opportunity to be their best selves anymore. So, what's the libertarian solution to that? Get rid of the Department of Education. We cannot settle for an education system that depends upon the lowest common denominator across the entire nation as a standard for education that our children graduate high school with. Yeah. So, cabinet position was put in back in 1979. It didn't really get running until 1980. Last year that Jimmy Carter was in office. You know, as soon as Jimmy Carter left, boom, Reagan had it. We remember how Reagan felt about public unions. Remember what he did to the air controllers union? Yeah. Department of Education never really got off the ground with the way it was intended, and it never has owned up to the expectations of Jimmy Carter's administration with regards to education in the United States. So, it's my spiel on education reform. What else do we got? Let's go ahead and talk justice reform. Who believes in justice reform? And we sort of all do, right? We know our justice system is broke. Our bail system is broke. Things we throw people in prison for is broke. You go out and you take a look at things that are going on with regards to our justice system, our education system. Right now, we have people who bought marijuana from one cop to sell to a different cop who are spending more time in prison than individuals who have committed rape, you know, who have committed assault, who literally committed murder. You know, we have negligent homicide, intentional homicide, third degree, you know, deliberately endangered people and caused people to die, domestic violence cases that have turned violent. You know, we have people that are serving time for crimes like that. They're significantly less. than people who are currently serving mandatory minimums for drug-related offenses. It's all across the United States. And we keep getting talked to about, well, they really didn't go to prison for a non-violent drug offense. They were really violent criminals. We just pled them down to the non-violent offense. Okay, if you're going to do a 10-year mandatory minimum for drugs, reselling drugs, versus a 5-year maximum for negligent homicide, or even for intentional homicide, gang-related homicide, why would you plead to 10 years rather than 5? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. But libertarian answer to this. Let's go ahead and eliminate victimless crimes. What is a victimless crime? This is any rule that doesn't affect the life, liberty, or happiness of another individual that the state is willing to kill to enforce. Yes. That means if you're selling Lucy cigarettes outside of a convenience store in New York, the cop will choke you to death. If you are suffering from fentanyl overdose, a cop will kneel on your neck until you're dead rather than call for therapy or hit you with the, what is it they call it? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Hit you with the injection, get your heart restarted. If you're selling water by the bottle on a skywalk in Las Vegas, Nevada, a cop will kill you for it. Victimless crimes. These are things where basically the state, the city, local monopolies, local oligopolies have decided, hey, we need to protect our market share. So we're going to make it illegal, and if they don't show up, or if they try and cut into our market share without buying the proper licensing from the city or the county or the state, we're going to send cops to kill them. No, well, we don't say that. We don't say that cops are going to kill you for selling water on a skywalk in Las Vegas, Nevada. However, when you don't walk away when the cop shows up because you don't understand that the city has made that kind of entrepreneurism illegal, yeah, things happen. Loose cigarettes, Loosy, or IE, same thing, New York. Operating a salon in your home without a license, another big issue. You got to have your home certified. Otherwise, the cops will show up and arrest you and shut you down and hit you with a civil suit. Sued by the city. Not even other hairdressers. You sued by the city. And one of our favorite victimless crimes that we actually have people, paying extreme fines for. Again, victimless crimes. Get rid of them. So, some of you, let's get some of this bogus BS out of the way about what is and is not libertarian. Libertarianism is consent culture. In order for somebody to consent, let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's go ahead, add up an issue, consent culture. Consent culture. Somebody has to want to do what you want to do with them. in order for it to be consent. If they have the ability to create power on their own and they don't want to pay you for the power that they aren't using, you can't force them to buy the power. That would be a violation of consent. You shouldn't be able to force them, bodily autonomy here, to get a vaccine that they don't want to get. Now, there's a number of reasons. I'm not anti-vax. What I am is pro-bodily autonomy. If you have suspicions about something somebody else wants to put in your body, you have the right to do the research and come to your own determination whether or not that is for you. You can't force somebody else to do it. Nobody can force you to do it. It's bodily autonomy. Forcing somebody would be a violation of consent. Now, every election cycle, some idiot comes out with the argument, but what if the child consents? Children cannot consent, folks. They cannot. Okay? Do not force physical contact. Do not force emotional contact. They can't consent. To the extent that they can do anything, they can say no. Because it is their body and they are entitled to say no. But they can't say yes because they don't understand the full implications of what that would mean. Don't do it, folks. It's garbage behavior and sociopathic behavior. Children can't consent. Don't go there. And at this point, it's bizarre because it seems like a serious case of projection. You don't know what projection is, you might want to look it up. Because that's a psychological, sociological term for attributing behavior to someone else that you already want to engage in. Yeah, not a big fan of conspiracy theories. Let's go ahead and move on to the next issue. The reason why is because this is a big one right now. Matter of fact, there's going to be a demonstration downtown. I don't know whether that was last night or whether that's going to be tonight. Personally find it frustrating because save our children. Okay, this is a conspiracy. It's a QAnon conspiracy. Okay, this entire idea is the belief that there is this cult, this conspiracy theory going on out there about people, organized crime, organization, satanic, whatever, that goes around kidnapping children for exploitation. Does this happen? Yes. Is it limited to certain elite circles? No, it's not. However, this particular conspiracy shifts the focus from where an awful lot of the problem currently is. We understand that there is abuse in families, there's abuse in communities, there is abuses in the church. You know, one of the biggest ones, the Catholic Church. I mean, it's still going on. They're still continuing to hide, abuses that are going on in the Catholic Church, across America, around the world. These are kids who find themselves involved in things that, they didn't consent to. They couldn't agree to it, yet they find themselves, victims. We need to focus on the local issues. Part of the reason why the conspiracy of the elite circles is so big right now is because we have a consolidated government. We have an organization and structure that has created an extremely powerful central government in the form of the federal government that allows them to basically operate, without consequences. They live by their own set of rules. They live by their own guidelines. But we still need to be able to take care of the local issues where these issues continue to infect our communities. So, what do we do? This goes back to the libertarian solution: disempower Washington, D.C. We take the power away from those elites. We create opportunities for entrepreneurs. We create local economies. We create local politics. We do the neighbors helping neighbors thing. When you have a local IGA, that's International Grocers Association. At least I think it's international, but the Grocers Association. Each one of these is an entrepreneurial grocer. They own their own grocery store. So this isn't like a Walmart. This isn't one of the corporate stores. Contribute to them, participate with them, support your local community, because the profits from that particular grocery store go right back into the community. They are paying for their child to take dance lessons from an instructor in your community. They are supporting the local softball league in your community. This money stays in your community. When you go to organizations like Walmart, when you do all your shopping at Walmart, yes, they are an employer. They pay employees. But the profits do not stay in Washington, D.C., or they do not stay local. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Local economies. Go ahead and cover two of them. We'll do local economy and local politics. Local economy and local politics. Again, when you talk about the libertarian solution, it always comes back to this. It always comes, bring it back local, bring it back where you can affect the things in your community, where you can affect the things that are going on in your life. Walton family. Prime example, like I was talking about, Walmart. You go shopping at Walmart, yes, they employ the people in the community. If you shopped at IGA or Winco, they employ people in the community too. They do. They really do. However, Winco, the profits stay in the community. IGAs, the profits stay in the community. Good question, Brian. Who do I think pulls the strings in government? Well, money does. It's always about money. So you start stepping back and you take a look. Let's go back and talk about the oligarchs. The 12 billionaire oligarchs that all made combined an extra $1 trillion or 822 billion, closing in on $1 trillion by the time everything's said and done, in wealth consolidation in the last 6 months. And they would not have been able to consolidate an additional nearly $1 trillion among the 12 of them, despite their massive wealth that they begin with, if they didn't have strings in the government. So we're talking Bill Gates, we're talking Jeff Bezos. These individuals, have a certain amount of control over what's going on. And that all goes back to money. So the next question is who controls the money? We talk about Jeff Bezos. We talk about Bill Gates. They've been running this organization. Now, thing is, they've been allowed to accumulate that money for whatever reason. We have the technological capability in order to take that money away from them at a whim. We can arrest them for something, freeze their assets, freeze their resources. They'd no longer be able to donate to campaigns. So there is somebody that is influencing their decisions Now, at this point, how is it we figure that works? Because there's so many different things out there, and you start getting into the conspiracy theories again. Now, we all know that there was one thing going on with regards to Epstein. Epstein did not kill himself, by the way. No, Epstein did not kill himself, and neither will Ghislaine. Were they international spies? Or were they just wealthy perverts? Regardless, either way, they had a significant amount of control over individuals because they had evidence that would have gotten certain individuals lynched should videos of the things they were doing be leaked. Matter of fact, some of them they may still end up getting lynched just for being on a flight log these days. Question is, what would somebody be willing to do in order to keep that information hidden? How blackmailable are they? Apparently, some of them are fairly easily blackmailed. Some of them definitely don't want that information getting out. Is this any grand conspiracy? Is in, the Knights Templar or the Masons all get together and said, make it happen? And I've been in the military. I've been seeing a top secret security clearance. I know how well people keep secrets. They don't. If a plan lasts longer than 6 months and involves more than 2 people, there are people who shouldn't know that will find out about it. We humans just are not that good at keeping secrets. We are not that good at creating conspiracies on the scale that are indicated by that. So, absolutely don't. We have money. We have individuals. We have some people with agendas. But I don't think those agendas can actually move into the realm of conspiracies without a significant amount of individuals who just don't care and are plain outright lazy. We got that in Congress right now in the United States. An awful lot of people that just don't care. Downright lazy. They're not interested in governing the United States. We got a Congress that continues to consolidate the power in the office of the president. Happens. And why would you want to consolidate power in the office of the president? Because you don't want to do your job as as a representative of the people. And you just want to look at the president and say, make it happen, dude. And that's when you end up with people who push big red buttons. What else have we got? By the way, thanks for the question, Brian. Appreciate it. The idea, disempower the federal government, bring it back down to the local levels. You know what's important in your community. You know what needs to be brought up in your community. Some communities, the conspiracy and a plan. I think the difference between a conspiracy and a plan is a conspiracy is done in secret. That is, you don't want anybody else to know the plan. A plan is something that can actually be done out in the open where everybody sees the game plan, where they see the objectives, where they see the end game. So if you have a plan, you want to share the plan. If you have a conspiracy, you want to keep it secret. I think that's really the difference between a conspiracy and a plan. And it's part of the reason why conspiracies generally don't work, because nobody can keep a secret. Um, the other thing with conspiracies is they have to be kept secret because the majority of people would disagree with the plan if they understood it. This goes back to one of the situations with Papa Bush, George Bush, when he signed some legislation back in, what was it, 89, 90, somewhere around there. How you doing, Space Love? He said if the people of America understood what it was we were doing right now, we would all be lynched. Paraphrased, of course. Can't remember the exact quote. But yeah. You're doing, Space Love. Thank you for showing up from Colorado. I am normally talking about Idaho issues. The reason why is because I am running in the state of Idaho. But Space Love, what you got going on in Colorado? What sort of things would you like to see change in Congress? I think it is a federal seat. I would be making changes that would affect the entire nation. They'd be affecting Colorado. My vote could make or break certain plans and or conspiracies that are going on in Congress as far as what certain congressmen, what certain representatives want to do. I mean, we all know Justin Amash. He's a gun libertarian. Right. Absolutely. We need people to work together. We do not do that nearly enough. And I actually talk about it with regards to some of the issues, the local economy, local politics. The disconnect between rural America and urban America. Right now, our economy, local economy, we have farmers. Here in Boise, here in Idaho, drive 20 minutes, you actually have farm country. You have people who grow food. They grow wheat, they grow corn, they grow the things that we eat. They sell their stuff to a conglomeration, to one of the three major agricultural buyers in the United States. Most of them don't harvest it and take it to farmers markets and sell it on the local economy. We don't even have a local middleman that would take it from our local farms to our local grocers. We sell it to one of these three big conglomerates. They come and they pick it up and they ship it to Nebraska. They do the sort and then they ship it right back to one of our stores. It's one of the reasons why our food supply chain broke, 4 months ago when this whole COVID crisis started. We didn't have truck drivers to get it from where it was growing to the processing and then back to where it needed to be sold. We've created legislation in the U.S. Congress that has facilitated that consolidation of wealth control over our food supply chain. Hey, you remember, who was it? The quote, you control the food, you control the people, you control the money, you control the government, you control the oil, you control the world. Kissinger. Yes, and that war criminal. But that's one of the things. We've created legislation that allows three corporations in the United States to control all of our food. Control the food, you control the people. Those three companies, if they stopped driving today, we would have to reestablish our food supply chain through local economies because our farmers wouldn't have anybody to sell to, and our urban residents wouldn't have anybody to buy from. We would have to recreate our food supply chain from scratch if those three corporations, decided they weren't going to participate anymore. Work for the constituents. Absolutely. That's what I want to do. I want to work for you. It's a little something I like to call active ungovernance. Yes, active ungovernance. Reason why is because we got so much red tape sitting in Washington right now that's preventing us from being able to do the things that are our God-given rights to do. We at a point, I'm not a real big fan of Edison. The reason why is because I felt Edison abused the legal system. He abused his interns. He didn't grant them the degree of freedom, and he monetized all of their patents. So, not a big fan of Edison, but Tesla. Tesla came up with tons and tons in regards to disruptive technology. Disruptive processes, disruptive procedures. We have gotten so far away from that these days. We no longer have disruptive influences in the markets in the United States. We could go to green energy tomorrow, except we've created a situation where we subsidize fossil fuels, so that the perception is that fossil fuels are still cheaper than green energy. We don't allow disruptive technology on a massive scale that can disrupt the markets that continue to make people rich. We don't have the ability to introduce disruptive technologies, disruptive procedures in medicine. FDA continues to control the way we handle medicine, the way we handle pharmaceuticals, the way we handle drugs. Reason why is because it's preservation of market share, preservation of wealth for a select few. Gatekeeping organizations. Food and Drug Administration. Well, let's go ahead and discuss the Department of Education again. Department of Education is a gatekeeping organization. It is decided that there is only one form of higher education that can be appreciated. We need to understand that the Department of Education has determined the bachelor's degree is the only way that you can be certified in a career field, which is funny considering most people who hire you don't hire you into the career field you were educated in when you went to university. They say, well, you earned a degree, so you're capable of learning. Here, I know you learned marketing, but we got a job for you managing social workers. But yeah, Department of Education has created this fallacy that you need to have a bachelor's degree from a university in order to be effective in a career in the United States. And as such, higher education has become more and more expensive. Me personally, I'm a big fan of apprenticeships. I'm a big fan of unions, particularly local unions. At 16 years old, you can get a job as an apprentice, working with an electrician's union, working with a carpenter's union, learn a trade skill, be moved from apprenticeship to journeyman by the time you're 18 or 19. Having done all of that work study as part of your education process, same as picking up college degrees while junior or senior in high school, or college credits, I should say, not college degrees. Being anti-Department of Education does not mean I am anti-education. I support education, 100%. Alternative education. We need people who are willing to learn. We need to make sure that they have the education opportunities. Dude, that is the most bizarre profile pic. Makes sense. But yeah, no. Being anti-Department of Education is not anti-education. Matter of fact, in my estimation, if you are anti-Department of Education, you are probably more pro-education than anybody who supports the Department of Education. The reason why is because you believe in kids learning. Whether that's homeschool, whether that's charter school, whether it's private school, whether even public school. Right now, Department of Education controls funds to public schools. It controls funds to universities, institutions of higher learning. And if those institutions and those public schools do not adhere to policies and procedures set by the Department of Education back in Washington, D.C., they lose funding. That means that there is an awful lot of fraud, waste, and abuse within the Department of Education that affects the effectiveness of the money that's invested into our education systems. Keep talking about what can we do in order to streamline education in the state of Idaho. We have a pretty good education system for the amount of money that we put into it. We are 51st in spending on education in the United States. However, we still managed to come somewhere in about 35, 36. So we graduate with a higher effectiveness for the amount of money that we spend on our education in the state. But we still have to adhere to certain policies. We have to spend money on certain things that the Department of Education has decided we need to spend the money on, even though it doesn't contribute to effective education in the United States. Fraud, waste, and abuse. Yes. Always got to love the beep beep in the background. But yeah, the other thing is you don't need to get a bachelor's degree. You don't need to go to a university. You don't need to go to a college to get a trade school. We've created this situation right now, and it really sucks, particularly in right-to-work states. Reason why is because some of those states have deprived unions of the ability to provide apprenticeship education to their students without certifications through local universities and local colleges. So in order to become a journeyman as an electrician in the state of Idaho, someone still has to attend enough college to receive the equivalent of an associate's degree. And the other 2 years of certification, is through your work-study program, through your apprenticeship. So why are we still in this situation where we are feeding these private institutions, and in a lot of cases, the local schools, when it comes to those classes, those required classes in order to receive your journeyman certification, the instructors that they hand aren't actually certified to instruct stuff that you want to learn. The classwork isn't taught by a competent individual. These are a non-union individual teaching a public course in a state institution that is providing you substandard education on a job that your union requires a minimum standard of in order for you to continue working for them. That is, if the union's worth a damn. We all know some unions aren't. You pay your dues. You're protected by the union, regardless of how bad your work is. Idaho, it's a little bit different. Our unions insist on a particular standard of performance, regardless of where you got your education from, how you got your education from. The union has a certification procedure in order for the union to certify you to work with a union card. This is one of those things, state, the university will go ahead and hand you a card that says you're certified and, you're now the equivalent of a union welder. No, you're not. You show up on a job and somebody actually has to check your work and you realize that you weren't trained to the standard that you should have been. It sucks, especially considering you're out that money. But yeah, trade schools, union education, apprenticeship programs that will get you into a career field is pro-education. It is pro-local economy. It is, and let's admit it, right now, Sparkies, they're getting paid well. Even as apprentices, they're getting paid well. The reason why is because most of our Sparkies in the unions, they are over 50 now. The new guys are 20. That's how long we have had the union ideal broken in the United States. There are There's 30 years of lost skills development in electrical, in electricity, in plumbing, in carpentry. And it's a shame. It's all because we allowed ourselves to get caught up in what a degree means for education. So yeah, local unions. Support your local unions if you can. If you work in a right to work state, work on getting that right to work legislation repealed. And I know there's an awful lot of people out there that are saying libertarians, right to work, right to work, right to work. Union is freedom of association. It is. It is freedom to assemble. It is the freedom, First Amendment, freedom of assembly. And in my opinion, that includes the ability of the collective, of the group, to collectively negotiate wages for a career. We specifically, in many states across the United States right now, we have specifically written legislation. That's a funny thing. If you're a libertarian, why are you supporting legislation that prevents freedom of association? Okay. So yes, it is possible to be pro-union and a libertarian at the same time, in my humble estimation. But the other thing is local unions support local economies and local communities. Again, the locals. The local electrician's union boss would understand what sort of wage a union worker needs in order to live in the community in which they work. So they'd be able to work with the industries that come in who want to do the building, who want to do the construction. That way they ensure that their employees, the union workers, have what they need as a qualified employee. They're able to do the appropriate and best case analysis. Great things. So we got 58 minutes. Dude, it's been an hour. What I need you guys to do now, I need you to like, I need you to comment, I need you to share. That way I'm not making up all this empty space to talk about, over an hour, over 30 minutes, where we're trying to do this Ask Me Anything. Thank you, Jeremy. Absolutely. But like, comment, share, get the information out there. If you know people in your area, of course, I am running for office in the state of Idaho. If people living in Idaho, make sure they tune in for the Ask Me Anything, for the listening tour, for our little cup of Joe, where we sit down with a cup of Joe and talk about America. Because those are the important things. Love you, Jeremy. Definitely move to Idaho. So tempting as that is, as much as, we need to fix America. And moving from a broken place to another broken place in an attempt to fix one broken place still leaves an awful lot of America broken. Support your local community. Support your local organizers. Build communities. Build communities across America. Do the right thing by your neighbor. Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. All that good jazz. Reason why is because that is what is going to build America and make America free again. Is coming to those common purpose, those common ideals with the people in your community. Life, liberty, yes, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Let's see if I can get that right here. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Those are the three big things Declaration of Independence were about. So what we need to get back to. Giving everybody the opportunity, the choices about what life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness means to them. Support my campaign. Like, share, all that fun stuff. Love you guys. Catch you Monday. Live stream. It's the only way to do it these days, man. COVID-19. Get close, everybody gets sick and dies. Or not, depending on how you feel about that. Underlying conditions, all that, we want to make sure grandma and grandpa live long enough to continue to teach us all of those great things. There are currently disappearing knowledge in the United States, such as how to be an electrician or a plumber, at least until we can get our unions rebuilt. Have a good one. See you around, guys.